you for a while. I can't.
Okay.
Oh, you did get a clock.
Hey, Kim, we're back married again.
What's that?
We're back married again.
Is this casual? Is this casual looking dude getting ready to sit beside me? Good for you. Good for you.
Casual Thursday. So that's Taco Tuesday. You got it all mixed up.
Hey, Dave. This is casual Thursday.
Throwback Thursday.
My 8-year-old had senior day, and I thought she had the second grade, what is senior day? She used to have to dress up like. That must be what it is for us today. I'm gonna slap her next time I see her.
Alex, how many people are on Zoom? Can you tell?
There were 4 just a moment ago.
Just
Yeah, that's why I like, I was interested in that.
She's on Zoom.
Commissioners, I have 7 o'clock on my watch, so we'll stand and face the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'd all stand in place and bow our heads before we start.
Come in. Commissioners, you have the agenda before you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Alexander. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Presentation and reports. What have we got under that? Anything, Alex?
Yes, we do. We're going to be presenting about Texas Road tonight and the engineer's current phase of that project.
We're talking about the pool.
Up by the pool, yes. That's correct.
All right. Ready. Barry, how are you?
I'm doing good, sir.
Good. Barry Creasman, our Commissioner of Public Works.
Got on your TVs back here a crosscut of what CDC is proposing for that site. About a month and a half ago, we done some preliminary test digs along the wall and out in the road. We were hoping to hit bedrock, but all we hit was creek cobble and all the test pits, which was bad. Being as we didn't hit bedrock, that narrowed down what we were able to use on the site. And their recommendation is the exact same design with just a little bit on the top, the concrete curb and gutter and a few things up there on the top, but it's the exact same design that we used on Graybeard. The gabion baskets with the riprap, and of course you got the setback and everything, is what they're proposing. Right now, this is in a preliminary stage, so if you have some ideas, any thoughts, I can take it back to Jesse. I told him we might come back with a few ideas, but this is what they're recommending for that site due to what we found when we done our test digs. They have partially completed their field survey work. They're waiting on a few more items to verify and locate. It's pretty much a survey deal is all they're waiting on. Of course, I mentioned the test pits. They've completed wall analysis and developed a system, which is this right here, and is what they're recommending. The next step is they're going to begin the environmental process and to complete a full design and provide a full wall type recommendation and submit for permitting. What Jesse did notice is in this section of Punch and Branch, it's got a different, what would be called, the flood mapping for that section. Anything from the dam down is mapped for flooding, and anything from the dam up is not. We didn't have this.
Is what? Mapped for flooding?
Map, it's got the flood map, shows all your different zones, so like we had to deal with on the pedestrian bridge. We didn't have that creature when we done the wall on Graybeard. So the wall could move in and out. We could, they could tailor it. With this site, it has to be exactly where the footprint of the current wall is or is located at this time. So that's a different creature he's having to deal with because we don't want to get into the no rise permitting and all the studies and stuff. So he's trying to stay out of that because that'll mean more time and more money. But for right now, this is where they're at with this design right here. And if y'all have any questions or any ideas, I'll be happy to take it back to them and go from there.
Any questions of Barry or suggestions? Microphone.
Unfortunately, on that spot right there, I think they're going to see the baskets. I think it's going to be more prevalent as you come down from the chapel and around through there. I think you'll see the baskets. But I mean, I've even mentioned it to Jesse. Maybe, I don't know what the dollar would be on it, is maybe if we could find colored wire or like creek rock instead of riprap or something natural to kind of fade it in. Is with this design, it's really hard to hide.
That's good thinking, Barry.
So, but like I say, I don't know a dollar figure on that.
Okay.
Right now, Barry, there's a knee wall that's probably, what, about
About
12 to
inches,
18
right.
inches. That's not planned to be replaced?
He has got some sort of little concrete, little kicker right there against the edge. I had suggested maybe we could put some sort of a, like a guardrail. But one of his other engineers had mentioned how hard it would be to actually tie that guardrail in and it be structurally secure. Because we don't really have a shoulder like we have on Graybeard, where we had a 4-foot shoulder to work with. Right there, we don't want to encroach on that roadway because it's pretty tight in the summertime when we've got everybody doing their functions. So we don't really want to take away from their travel space, as far as narrowing it up. So I think that concrete bump there is going to be about 12 inches high is what he's talking. So.
Other questions or comments?
Well, it's a heavy pedestrian area, smack dab in the central area, and highly aesthetic, I think. I think anything that we can do to maintain some level of aesthetics comparable to where it would be important to the people of the town.
All right. He had also mentioned some sort of and he's going to throw it into his report just because he feels like he needs to. He's going to mention something of a fence barrier around through there. I don't know if they're going to want to fasten it to the top of that concrete. I told him I didn't know I don't think we really want like a big chain link fence around through there.
No.
I mean, I think that'll really turn away from what we're wanting to do.
Yeah.
If y'all have any ideas on that right there, like I say, got kicked down on the guardrail type deal, but if anybody's got any more thoughts, I'm sure open to them to see what we could take to them. And we've got a couple of weeks. We're still several weeks out, so
Okay.
before anything's actually stamped. So,
And Barry, the purpose of that fence that he's suggesting or has mentioned would be just extra protection
yes, ma'am, just to
up
keep
higher.
up higher, just to keep somebody, he's just covering his end is what he, which that's understandable.
So Barry, I appreciate you being pretty candid about the proposal. And I hate to sort of kick it back in your court, but since you're talking with them, certainly a couple of things that jump out. I'm afraid this is going to be a costly repair, but it's something that's going to have to be done. But again, when we start talking on the aesthetics of that, Graybeard, because of the way it sits, you just don't see those baskets too much. Right. There's an awful lot of traffic, pool traffic, baseball traffic, just everything coming through that corner. And again, a lot of folks walk that particular area. I really would love to see if they could investigate maybe larger boulders to replace that basket. Again, I'm not an engineer. I'm not going to tell him how to do his job, but I would love for them to exhaust their different ways of correcting that.
All right.
And again, my fear is we come in with baskets and then all of a sudden we have a 5-foot, 6-foot fence going around that corner. Again, we could really ugly that up in the name of safety, but we got to make it safe.
Right.
But I'd love for them to consider, some boulders or something. And then, the last thing, just because we have seen this in times past, I would love for them to triple check what's pushing them from the flood deal. Maybe they already have, but again, not to put you in a tough situation, but just to ask them to say, have you triple checked that? Because I don't want it to be jumping through hoops that might not be applicable.
Okay, that's no problem. I'll sure take it to them. The boulder, I like that idea. I mean, it would look good. We've got several places around town it would match right up with. So I'll definitely take it to them and see what they think. And I'll mention that about the floodway. So no problem.
Any other comments or questions of Barry?
You'll bring it back to us before
Yeah.
giving him an okay on it?
I can, bring it back to y'all whenever y'all would like. I mean, I'll touch base with Jesse. It usually takes him a little while to get up with me. But I'll sure try to have something for sure by next month for you. Let you know.
Or whenever you and he are ready.
Okay, yeah. As soon as I find out something, I'm on all of it. I'll sure
This is
bring it to you.
just, this is just fine tuning. We've already approved the contract, haven't we, Alex? Okay.
Yeah, they're just putting out there. We just happened to ask them and see where are we at? Let us know something. And they had this, and he said right now is the time for any input we can put. It's a good time for it. So.
Any chance that this would be finished by summer?
That's what we had discussed while we were in our meeting up there. He was asking about a timeline, and I told him, really want to be rolled out of there by the first part of June. Everything starts up like June 4th or something like that usually. So I'd really like to be out there by then. And he said it's going to be close, but they seem like they could probably push it to that.
Okay.
Maybe the day after Memorial Day. would be a good time.
Okay. I'll mention it to him.
Okay. Anyone else? Barry, thank you so much for a good report. Appreciate the graphics there. That helps a lot. Okay, my communication tonight. I wanted to celebrate Bill Creasman a little bit tonight. Bill does some amazing things, and he certainly is going to be missed when he retires in, another 3 months, 2-3 months? About 10 weeks. But Bill, this past week, noticed that one of the garbage customers, garbage was not out and the lights were on and the car was there. So that bothered him. He went on about his day. Car was there. So he went on about his day, came back in the next morning, and evidently he had worried about it overnight. He said, I'm going to go check on her, because he knew it was a single female living there by herself. And so Bill went back and checked on her. And lo and behold, he knocked on the door this time, and she was there. And come to find out her son, she'd gone with her son to his house over the weekend, and of course left her car since she rode with him and came back. But he got her garbage and went on about his business. But not many communities you're going to find someone like Bill that's going to go up, knock on a door, and when someone's not there with their garbage, go back and check on them. So Bill has always gone above and beyond, and he's certainly going to be missed in this community when he retires. The other person I wanted to talk to you about and let everybody know that Nova at the post office lost her mother. And it was very sudden, very unexpected. And Nova's an only child, very close to her mother. And it was quite a shock, and it's really hit her hard. So any words of condolence that you can give Nova, or any words of comfort, would certainly be appreciated. Nova is a very big part of this community. The other thing I wanted to mention tonight is we get a lot of questions, a lot of emails about, we understand this thing, somebody says, we understand that this thing is going to take place on this street, and that so-and-so has plans to do this or that and the other, and what's the council going to do about it? Well, we can't do anything until something is presented to the commissioners, until a formal or a request, a formal presentation or a request has been made of the commissioners to do something. We can't do anything. It would be rather presumptuous of us to start ruling on something before we've got all the facts and all the information. We can't act on rumors or hearsay. And just wanted everybody to know that just give us time, and when something is presented, we will handle it. And that's the time for your input. And we appreciate the heads up on these things that may come about in the future, but we just can't do anything right now. Alex, if you will cover the consent agenda and your report, please, sir.
Yes, sir. For your consent agenda tonight, you've got the minutes from the January 14th Town Council meeting, excuse me. For my communications tonight, I just wanted to let you know that I have been talking with the MRA and talking with staff about the dog waste proposals, and that is moving forward. I don't have a presentation of an actual action for you tonight, but I just want to let you know that those conversations are moving forward, and those are good conversations. Also, we are working to schedule and nail down the retreat. I still need to hear back from one planning board member, but we should have some dates that we'll be ready to announce very soon for the retreat. And we had looked at splitting up the retreat over 2 afternoons, and we're going to be splitting those afternoons by about a couple weeks. So there'll be one meeting the first week of March, and then the next one will be a couple weeks later. And then finally, I just wanted to give my appreciation to the Public Works crew. We've had 2 weekends in a row of snow where they've had to come in and work through the night to plow the roads, and they've done an excellent job with that. And I just wanted to commend their work for what was done throughout the nights in the last 2 weekends. So I wanted to take that opportunity. And that's all I have for my communications tonight.
Good deal. Any questions of Alex on any of that?
Just a couple things, Alex. Do we have a date for the first retreat yet?
March 3rd.
March 3rd? Gotcha. Thanks.
Excuse me, may I interrupt?
Go ahead.
Would you expect the next one to be the 17th? You mentioned a couple of weeks later.
I'm
Or do you
still
know
trying to nail down the availability, so I don't know the exact date yet. But I have a couple of days that are looking promising. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but I want to make sure that it's available for the planning board member that I mentioned earlier.
And secondly, thanks for your update on the pet waste. And as we talked earlier, it really is important. So do you think we can get a report from you at next month's meeting?
I think our next step
Recommendations?
I think our next step is going to be identifying funds. So that'll be what we work on next to pay for units. But yes, I think that by the March regular meeting, we should be able to have something.
Great. Thanks, Alex.
Anyone
Mayor, I
else?
have another question for Alex. Alex, we had talked about the communication from the Barclays regarding Texas Road,
Yes.
and just wonder if you have any update on that.
We are looking at signage for directing traffic to, so for the viewers that are not familiar with the conversation, that we had an email about speeding and high traffic on Texas Road near the playground and tennis courts. And one of the things that we're trying to accomplish is to show people that come down Texas Road that think that the bridge is the end of the road and turn around because they think it's a dead end, that there's actually an exit on Texas Road Spur. So we can avoid them having to back out of people's driveways and actually get the traffic to flow through. Of course, that is a one-lane road, so it is something we need to navigate carefully. So we're looking at signage to direct people up Texas Spur to show that they don't have to turn around in somebody's driveway, that they can exit that way as well. Trying to cut down on some of the frustration that people might feel.
Just for clarification, it's not one way, it's just one lane.
Correct.
Because,
One lane.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions of Alex on those? Okay. You've received the reports from the different departments. Any questions of anybody on those? Hearing none, we'll move on. It's time for public comment, and we don't have
Mayor,
any.
Mr. Mayor, just a comment on one of those on the streets and public works. I was interested in the.
Can you move that microphone a little closer?
I was
please?
interested in the footnote that mentioned the importance of folks staying in their houses when it snows so that the snow removal can take place before cars have driven on it. And that was something I thought was important to be reminded of, because I was very much aware in these snow events that those trucks come through very early and they get the streets really clean. So that was important for us to be reminded.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Alex, can I just ask, well, first of all, thank you and Darlene for the financial reports. And as we've talked about before, there's so much there, and municipal finance is different than what most of us are used to. How are you and Darlene feeling now, 6 months into our year?
Darlene, you're on the call. Can you address that question?
Yeah, actually, I think we're doing pretty well. Of the reports that you have, the one that you have requested with the taxes, if you were to go across the board and add up all of the property tax, for example, for this fiscal year, we have already collected 100% of it, which is awesome. It doesn't show as a net amount on the December financial because I took you through to February on the sheet showing the taxes, whereas the December statement only takes you up through December. But so some of the numbers are not clear to you in presentation. However, they do look, I think they look promising. And the other thing is, as far as the sales tax goes, if you look across the increases and decreases in comparison to last year, they're relatively low as of September, because in September, you'll see a 5% decrease, and then you'll see a 1% increase in October. So netting them out, we're pretty much on target. And another thing that you don't see in front of you that I looked up today, because I wanted to see where we stood as of December in terms of our water billing, we're right on target for water billing in terms of revenue. I mean, up through December, if you consider 6 months of the fiscal year and assume that we're going to do the next 6 months pretty much the same, then we are going to hit that budget of 311,250 roughly in water revenue. So all in all, it looks pretty good.
Thank you, Darlene.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Darlene, glad you're recovering.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too.
Any other questions? Do we have any public comment? No public comment? Okay. No old business, but we've got a couple of things of new business tonight. Number one is the declaration of the monarch of February the 11th is Monarch Day. And I had a doctor's appointment earlier today and dilated my eyes, and I'm just not seeing that well. I'm having trouble reading, so I've asked Angie if she would to read the proclamation. Angie?
Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the imagination of millions of Americans. And whereas in 2010, monarchs overwintering in Mexico occupied 14.94 acres of forest, up from 6.12 acres in 2018. There is still work to be done, as in comparison in 1996, when 45 acres were covered with overwintering monarch. And whereas North Carolina is uniquely situated right in the middle of one of the few migratory paths, both north and south, for the monarch butterfly. And whereas cities, towns, and counties have a central role to raise awareness in the effort to help save the monarch butterfly. And whereas the citizens of Montreat can contribute in making a significant difference by planting native milkweed and nectar plants to provide habitat for the monarch and all pollinators in locations where people live, work, learn, play, and worship. And whereas, on behalf of the people of Montreat who pledged to foster awareness in the effort to create healthy habitats for these magnificent butterflies, we are honored to lead the way by signing the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge. And therefore, the Montreat Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim February 11th, 2021 as Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day in the town of Montreat, and urges all citizens to support efforts to save and protect the monarch butterfly, and adopted this the 11th day of February 2021, signed by Mayor Tim Helms.
We do several things that well, in this community that we're already doing, so it wasn't much of a leap. We do our annual plant sale of native plants and so forth, which is one of the requirements to plant things that attract butterflies. And then the other one is to have a garden, which we do have now. And we've always encouraged wildlife habitat in the community and planting of native things in the community and various people's yards. So we're well on the way of doing everything that we have to do. It doesn't require anything additional other than to encourage people to plant those plant species and so forth that attract butterflies. So she's read the proclamation. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve proclamation number 21-02-0001 as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Tom. Alice did all the groundwork on this, and we thank her for that. Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add that the volunteers who are doing the landscaping around the town
Right.
hall, the gardeners of Whedon, let me know today that they will be engaging in a fundraiser for more plantings for a butterfly garden in our park
Oh, good,
come this spring.
good.
And they're grateful to you for the proclamation.
Thank you. We have a motion. I need a motion to make an appointment to the Land Care Committee. Can someone make that motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the appointment of Meredith Green to Montreat Land Care for a term of 2 years to expire on January 31st, 2023.
Have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, thank you, Jane. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, ayes carry. Thank you, Meredith. I'm glad to have you aboard. Any other public comment come in or anything? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Somebody say something? Oh, okay. That goes. What's the next one? We just did. Do what? Oh, any commissioners have any communications? I can't read anything. I really can't. It's like a fog.
You're doing well. You're doing well for everybody.
Kitty's looking over my shoulder.
Tom and I wanted to give a little bit of an update on the address issue. And I'll remind you, over the top, the relation. Remind you again that those were instituted to help with the post office deliver mail. And it's only because so many other uses have come up for them, they're not performing those uses. It's not the post office. So that line, Tom, you want to tell them about what we received tonight?
Sure. In amongst our discussions with people, someone suggested that we reach out to other municipalities in the state of North Carolina. And the School of Government has a number of listservs. And one of those listservs is for town managers and administrators, and another one is for GIS managers. So Alex sent out a question to the administrators and managers listserv, and I sent the exact same message out to the GIS people. And we received, Alex received about 15 responses, certainly within that day and probably within 4 or 5 hours. We have in front of you a summary of not only the question that was posed by Alex and me on the 2 listservs, but also most of the 15 responses that we received from the municipal managers and administrators, and several from the GIS managers. If you take the time to read these, it is not very uplifting. Many municipalities have had similar circumstances and have had no luck in sorting things out. And in fact, let me read you one comment in particular. He says, it's the fourth one on the second page. Unfortunately, I would have to echo what the others have said. Goes on from there, and he says, to quote the advice of an old wise friend, sharpen a pencil really sharp and insert it directly into your eye. It will ultimately be less painful. So most of those comments are as adamant as that one was. In talking between the three of us, Alex, Kitty, and I, we have one more course of action that Alex had actually suggested or gotten information on about a year ago, which we're going to try, and that is to petition the post office for a new and separate zip code for Montreat to identify the street addresses. Other municipalities have tried that without luck, but one did have luck. So we'll see what happens. Alex, anything else?
That covers it. Thank you.
Hey, Tom, or Kitty, or Alex, two questions. These municipalities that answered back, are they all similar in the fact that they do not have mail delivered to their homes?
No, not all, but some in the same vein. Alex wrote the question, and I simply copied it for the GIS folks. He explained it very well, and some were a little off subject, but others have not only similar problems, but if they aren't exactly the same, they have related issues. All of them coming down to what Kitty had just said, that zip codes were originally purposed to deliver mail, and now everybody's using them for everything else, and to no avail.
And from our previous conversation a month ago, I've had a neighbor ask, and I think we've sort of hashed it out, but I still kind of want to get it an understanding in my mind. What would happen if we asked to have mail delivered to our homes here in Montreat?
Kitty, you want to tell them what Tim said?
If we did that, we would have a 28711 Black Mountain zip code.
We'd lose our post office, right? More than likely.
Right. We'd lose the post office, and we'd have a 28711 zip code.
Okay, with that, I'm not suggesting, but with that, would it solve the problem?
Well, yeah, your address would be 210 or 209 or whatever you are, Tennessee Road, Black Mountain, 28711.
Okay,
So no, it would not solve the problem. We'd still be identified as a Black Mountain.
we'd be identified as Black Mountain, but as far as packages and some of the, I mean, there's multiple things going on here that people have issues with. One is we live in Montreat, we have a Black Mountain address. That creates issues, but also packages and things as we're moving more and more into that. So it would potentially solve one of the problems, but not the other problem as far as.
And I think the backlash of losing our post office and losing our Montreat address would be bigger than the problem we have.
Okay.
And, you know, we'll remind everybody that you should still have your mail delivered or packages delivered to you on a single drive with your unit number, your box number, or whatever.
Correct.
And they get credit for delivering, receiving that package. You know, that's where we stand right now. And we've got one more effort that Tom just explained that has to be out.
Kitty, is your microphone on? I just got to,
Okay.
I would also like to say that if we did go to on-street delivery, in conversations with Tim Bryson, there's so many roads in Montreat that are too narrow that the post office would still not do street delivery. They would set up those cluster boxes for various neighborhoods. So it would be like having a mini post office in the neighborhood, but not at on-street delivery. So there still would not cover all of Montreat.
Cluster boxes usually aren't very sightly. A lot of them that I've seen. Anyway. Anyway, thank y'all for all the work y'all do on this. I know but you know, you get into the bottom of everything. I think exhausting all avenues.
Angie?
Any other comments from any other
Do we need to take
commissioners
action on
on
this?
anything tonight? Alice?
Mayor, just a word about the tree board moving well this year. At its January meeting, the tree board discussed a plan for the year, so you'll be reading about that or hear more about that along the way. And Land Care always is active, looking closely at its bylaws, and if they need some updating, which probably will happen before long for that group, which of course comprises many entities beyond the town. And the last thing is just picking up on our leaf conversation last time, when I think it was Commissioner Otto who suggested that we need to look at the information from the town on contract labor and leaf pickup and all of that kind of thing. And one issue still out there for us is whether or not students who help us rake leaves are contract labor. And I think that's an issue that we're going to need to get resolved pretty soon so that people know whether or not they can be hiring students from the college or wherever to help them do their leaves. So Alex, as you look at reviewing those materials, will you just keep that in mind and hope we can get some resolution there? Okay.
Other commissioners? Kitty?
Since my mic's not on, Tom, you want to see about, or ask Andy, how do we get this in the minutes?
If you want the entirety in the minutes, everybody would have to vote because it's all of your minutes. If you just want me to just put little bits and pieces, I can go ahead and do that.
I think the citizens might be interested in some of the remarks that we got, so I would recommend that we vote
You
on
need a
it.
motion to put it all in there?
Mhm.
Okay. Kitty, Tom?
We include the entirety of this
Report. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second from Commissioner Whitmer. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ayes carry. Any other commissioner have a report or want to make any comments? Okay, dates to remember, and my vision has come back somewhat. Tree Board, February the 23rd, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. and location and method to be determined. Montreat Land Care, March 3rd, 2021, 9 a.m. Location and method to be determined. Planning and Zoning Commission, March the 11th, 2021, 10:30 a.m. Location and method to be determined. Town Council meetings, March the 11th, 2021, 7 o'clock, location and method to be determined. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I do want to mention one other thing before we adjourn real quick. Thanks to Bill Creasman. Barry, thanks to you and Mike for snow removal this past weekend. Who did it before? Okay. You and who? Daniel. Thank you. You're
You were
always in
up
there.
early.
Yeah. And don't forget condolences to Nova. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Have a motion. Was that Jane? No, Alice, I'm sorry. Have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Whitmer. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes carry. Thank you.
Okay.